Moving on now to North America, and US President Donald Trump has announced a fresh batch of tariff demand letters. Trump warns that new import duties would take effect in August for trade partners that fail to strike deals in Washington. Donald Trump outlined a 30% tariff on imports from Algeria, Libya, Iraq and Sri Lanka, a major industrial rival to the United States, while products from Brunei and Moldova would face a 25% duty and those from the Philippines a 20% levy. Similar to Trump's first batch of documents published on Monday, the tariff levels were not too far from those originally threatened in April, although some partners received notably lower rates this time. While the US president in April imposed a 10% levy on almost all trading partners, he unveiled and then held off on the higher rates for dozens of economies. Well, joining me to discuss this latest tariff action from Donald Trump is Professor Stephen Nagy from the International Christian University and a visiting fellow of the Hungarian Institute of International Affairs. Professor Nagy, thank you ever so much for taking the time to join us. What's the significance of these further letters that Trump has issued, of course, ahead of this new deadline of August the 1st?
So first, thank you very much for having me. What we think is happening is that the Trump administration is really trying to push as much of his economic strategy, which was largely based on tariffs, towards partners and allies within the region before August 1st. And the reason is simple. There's an important decision trying to understand if the Trump tariffs are actually legal under international law and domestic law. And once that's decided, I think that the counterparts will be in a different position in terms of resisting or accepting Donald Trump's stiff demands. At the same time, I think the Trump administration really is committed to recalibrating its economic and trade relationships with allies, adversaries, and competitors, and it's doing that in a manner of policymaking that could best be described as policymaking on steroids. He's been exceptionally active, erratic, tactical, and again, pushing forward to try and recalibrate trade relationships with many partners.
Yes, and Professor Nagy, of course, the economic instability that we saw after Trump's Liberation Day announcement, where he stood with a board with tariffs on up to 70 nations, was massive. Do you expect that we're going to get a similar shift if trade deals can't be agreed with US and their key trading partners?
Well, it looks like the markets have calculated in the instability in many ways, understanding that the Liberation Day tariffs that took place were walked back, more than I think after a week, and I think the markets are looking at Mr. Trump and President Trump and saying, well, he has this maximalist approach to tariffs and his negotiating tactics, and eventually comes back down to earth for something much more minimalistic, but sufficient enough to placate, I think, the MAGA base. But that being said, I do think that there's specific countries that will be targeted and will continue to be targeted, in particular China, because it is seen as not only a competitor, but an adversary that has been in the long term abusive towards the American market. Other partners like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Southeast Asian countries, they're all better positioned vis-a-vis tariffs. And this may bring some stability to the markets, as I think the markets, again, are understanding that the US-China competition that is right now seen through tariffs and trade friction is structured. That means it's long-term and will continue to be with us, not just for Donald Trump's term as president, but in future administrations as well.
Yes, Stephen Nagy, if you stay with us, we're going to continue looking at tariffs, but with wider